Welcome to a Chessima Chess. Today we're going to have some fun with an extraordinarily beautiful, creative and mad game of chess. And when you hear that word mad game of chess, it's going to be Nezhmetdinov. This time with the black pieces. In 1958, somewhere in some important championship, somewhere in the Soviet Union, facing the stout, proud Lev Polugaevsky, one of the great Soviet grandmasters of chess, who had the white pieces and opened up with a pawn to d4. And I'm just going to take you through this move by move, and you can just enjoy the complete madness, mayhem, and creative genius displayed in this historical game of chess. Knight to f6 by Nezhmetdinov. c4, d6, and knight to c3. What is the opening going to be? It's a very interesting move here already. A psychological ploy by Rashid, because he plays pawn to e5. And this is a completely sound, strong opening choice for black that many beginners have fallen prey to, because it looks like it's a mistake. Now, Polugaevsky is at this point one of the best chess players in the entire world, so he's not falling for the trap. But if you see this yourself when you're playing with the white pieces, and you think, wait a minute, I hear that it's good to prevent your opponent from castling, and I can do just that. I can play pawn takes pawn. This did not happen in the game. It's just a little educational moment. Pawn takes pawn, and you think, I can then play queen takes queen with check, forcing the king to recapture. And the king has now moved and can no longer castle. Aren't I great? And believe it or not, for very, very subtle reasons, this position is a tiny bit better for black. So not only has white lost their opening advantage of the first move, it's not even equal. Black is a little bit better. And if your opponent is playing this opening, they will have studied those nuances. They are doing this on purpose, so they will be able to squeeze those small advantages, and you will have a very hard game from here. So, let's see. Queen is here. Pawn, pawn, queen. So that's why we don't see pawn takes pawn in this position. Instead, e4 is the move. Played by Polugaevsky in this tournament, which he had great hopes to win. He was one of the two strongest players. He believed the other really big rising star was Viktor Korchnoi, one of the great legends of chess, and just an absolutely amazing player and fascinating character who's also playing. And Polugaevsky thought that he was mainly competing with Korchnoi for the first prize. They were the two big grandmasters. Nezhmetdinov here, even though he was a feared attacker, but Nezhmetdinov with the black pieces was merely an international master, not a grandmaster. And Polugaevsky had a crushing score against him in their previous encounters. But who is underestimating who, and who is trapping who? Those are the questions of this game. First we see pawn takes pawn, by Nezhmetdinov. Queen comes out, recaptures, like so. And here we see the point, knight to c6. Hello, Majesty. With an attack on the queen. The queen drops back to d2. Not all the way back, but to d2. So this little maneuver here, the queen has come a little bit forward. And it's not blocking in this bishop, you will see why. g6 is the theoretical move in this position, and what Nezhmetdinov played. Idea is to get the dark squared bishop out on the long diagonal, the fianchetto position. What a great idea, says Polugaevsky. I will play b3 to counteract your bishop, bishop g7, bishop b2. Now they are facing off and they are fighting for control over the dark squares in this position. We can see the advantage of this queen having moved here. We can castle long. We have a very nice, comfortable position for white. Nezhmetdinov castles, almost always castle very early to have a secure, safe and sound king, so he would not be subject as easily to counterattacks when he mounted his brilliant, mad attacks. This comes with a little bit of a threat. The castling move is not purely defensive. This rook has now access to the e-file. And you notice this pawn here on e4. It is defended and it is attacked. But the thing here is that if it's black to move, we can actually come in and capture this, because it can be recaptured. But the knight is going to be stranded here. Maybe we will play bishop takes bishop first, queen takes bishop, or we will play the immediate rook e8. Knight is pinned. You may be able to defend it, but f5 and the knight is going to fall. Nice attacking chances for black, which explains bishop to d3, defending this a second time. Now, knight g4. It's the vintage Nezhmetdinov move. Moving the knight before finishing development, seemingly doing what? It's not doing anything, it's just hanging out there. Maybe it's doing a little bit of something though, because it unleashes this bishop. They're looking here, coordinating with the knight. Could that be unpleasant? Let's play the knight out, knight on g to e2, looking after this square, just to be sure that nothing is landing here. And they called him no reverse gear Rashid. They did, because he was just charging with his pieces, more or less straight out of the opening. And we see the beauty and the genius of this creative mad chess player here with queen h4. Now the knight is doing something. It's helping out the queen, attacking this square on f2 with a very dangerous threat. Maybe the queen comes in with a check, or even the knight can maybe come in some variations. You can't castle out of these threats, because queen takes h2 is checkmate. So what was Polugaevsky's plan? Stop all of this with knight g3. So the queen can no longer see f2. Everything should be taken care of. And mysterious, enigmatic Rashid Nezhmetdinov played the knight back again. Not back from whence it came, but knight from g to e5. Putting a little bit of pressure on this bishop. queen now can't lose contact with the bishop, the knight would come in and capture. It would be check. Problematic. In some variations, there could be a check here, which is very forcing because it's forking the queen and the king. Forcing, therefore, pawn takes could be an important resource in some variations. Let's get rid of all of those problems. Polugaevsky says, let me just castle my king away like so. Being protected by the knight, everything should be very, very, very safe and sound now. So the pieces here looks like white is further ahead in development and controls more of the center. Rook's already connected. This queen looks like it will have a hard time mounting an attack. So what is Rashid's plan? How is he going to do anything here? He just charges. Just charge. F5. I do not recommend playing like this at home. Or actually I do. But it's, you know, how many times have you watched a video or about a game that Mikhail Tal played or Nezhmetdinov played and then thought that looks like fun chess. I'm going to go out and sacrifice a bunch of pieces and play creative ideas and then win brilliant games. And you go out, I know I have done this so many times, thinking now it's my go, I'll be creative, and it's because we can't back up the creative ideas with the brute force calculation of a genius like Nezhmetdinov or Tal. The brilliant moves are not as much brilliant sacrifices as they are horrible blunders, and we lose all of our pieces and we lose the game. So in some sense I'm saying don't try this at home. In another sense I'm saying do try this at home. Do try this at home because it is very, very fun and you can learn a lot about chess doing it, and sometimes it works and it feels so good. It does feel so good. In fact, their lifetime score, Polugaevsky and Nezhmetdinov, was 9 wins for Polugaevsky and 1 win for Nezhmetdinov. But Polugaevsky said that he would have traded all his 9 wins if he could have been the person playing the winning side in the game he lost. Because it must have been so satisfying to play that game. Is it this game? Who knows? Or am I tricking you? Or is it one of the times where Polugaevsky was able to repel the attack? Who is trapping who? Who is fooling who? Let's take a look. One thing is for sure, this game is absolutely beautiful. We see this F5 move. No reverse, Rashid just charging with the pawns. Attacking, for instance, here. Well, okay. F3, we protect. Now, the F3 move, it does all these defensive duties, but there is a diagonal towards the king. Maybe you know that Ben Feingold says, never play F3 or never play F6. And how do we exploit the diagonals towards the king and the dark square weaknesses? How about this little move? Bishop to H6 with an attack on the queen. That's nice. The queen does not have very many squares to go to. So she goes back to D1 from whence she came. And F4. Charge. So knight has to move. It is attacked by the pawn, knight E2. And does this work? Is this sound? Who is tricking who? Because rooks are not connected. This bishop is not really in the game, and not a lot of center control for black. White has all this nice center control. Rashid's still not developing his bishops, or this bishop in particular, connecting the rook, not finishing development. No. Charge. G4. g5, sorry, pawn to g5. And Polugaevsky is saying, you know what? You're leaving an awful lot of space on your side of the board, my dear opponent. An awful lot of space. I have all this nice center control. Look at, for instance, at this stronghold right here on d5. That is on your side of the board, but I can play this knight with a big thunk. Boom. Being extremely well protected, opening up this bishop, just lasering towards the king. If you have no reverse gear like Rashid Nezhmetdinov didn't have, then it can be very problematic if your own majesty is subject to attack. No reverse gear, completely unfazed. Charge. Pawn to g4. These pawns are getting awfully close to the king. Awfully close to the king. And the big threat is the pawn advancing even further, which would end in a lost position for white. Let's say white plays some meaningless move like this. The pattern here, that one of the patterns that Rashid Nezhmetdinov is going for is advancing here, and you can't capture because you're never getting out of this checkmate threat. This is a big threat to advance here, and so you can't capture. This also doesn't work because the bishop can spring to life very, very quickly and just sacrifice itself, blasting open. Let's say takes, and you're getting checkmated somehow, some way. This attack is too strong. So that is going to help us understand what Polugaevsky played here. Played g3. So now Nezhmetdinov can't. He can't play g3. No, he can't. So how to develop the attack further? The queen is attacked, but maybe we can open up some lines. Pawn takes pawn on g3. Pawn takes pawn, nicely protected by this knight, attacking the queen, and the queen has to move. It's coming close towards the king, but it's also it's having a little bit of a hard time getting back if it's needed anywhere else on the board. This queen, it's very hard to get back. The big threat for that black is posing here is pawn takes pawn here, defended by the knight with a checkmate threat, winning. There's only one move to stop that, which is advance the pawn to f4. So that is what Polugaevsky does, and that looks very, very nice. Like, look at white's pieces. Very nice bishop. Lasering in on the black majesty. Also, this bishop can become active on this. The center control is enormous. 1, 2, 3 pawns just dominating the center. The knight playing a very nice defensive role against defending these two here. Looks very, very, very nice for white. And black is behind in development as well. So how is Nezhmetdinov going to try to justify his play? Well, you need all the pieces in the game. When your opponent has a position that is this harmonious, everything is well protected, you can't forever leave your bishop and this rook here doing nothing. And Rashid is going to use all the pieces, but how? Bishop e6 with an attack on the knight. So finally, all of the pieces on the black side has been developed. The rooks are connected, and maybe he can come in and capture this knight, and the strong knight strong outpost square will be lost. So Polugaevsky is saying, well, you can do that, but it's going to be on my terms. So he drops the bishop back. That is about allowing the queen to see the knight. So if bishop takes knight, queen takes bishop with check against the king. So we will establish a strong queen on the outpost square instead of the knight. Nezhmetdinov is saying, okay, if I'm going to do that, I don't want the move to be check, because that would force probably my king to move or force me to make a move, sort of interfering with my plan. So let me play rook f7, so that if I do decide to bishop takes knight and queen takes bishop, it wouldn't be check. And also this move is saying, well, I will probably play the other rook behind here on the now vacated square with a very strong battery here. And if all this time you are wondering why we are not seeing pawn takes knight, like so, it's because bishop takes knight, queen takes, and bishop here is going to end in checkmate. So you can't capture the knight. Knight is just standing there being all cozy, being threatened by the pawn, saying that's not a problem. And a devious move from Polugaevsky. High class concept here. Saying, oh my dear opponent, you have no reverse gear. And you have committed this queen so far in my camp that she will have a very hard time of escaping should she be attacked. So Polugaevsky plays king f2. You can ponder that move a little bit while we see the response. As of now, the queen can in principle get out via this square and then out here. It's not going to be comfortable, but it can save herself. After this king move, though, we saw a full commitment from this queen to this attack. No reverse gear, not going backwards. Check, and the king moves up. What is this about, though? What is this about? Nezhmetdinov plays bishop takes knight. Polugaevsky responds. Pawn takes bishop with an attack on the knight. The knight has to move, and it goes to b4. So what is the deadly trap that Polugaevsky set? Oh, the rook comes to h1. And that queen is in big trouble. Big trouble. Where is that queen supposed to go? Cannot capture here, defended by the knight. Cannot capture the rook, defended here. This hole, there's no way to save the queen. So who's fooling who? Who is trapping who? Nezhmetdinov played rook takes f4. So that is a chess move, if I have ever seen one. You have to take the queen. Rook takes queen. So it's a sacrifice of a queen for a pawn. Ooh, or is it just a blunder? Let's find out. What would you play here? What do you think that Nezhmetdinov is banking on? Did he blunder his queen, or did he sacrifice his queen? How do we attack the Black Majesty? How about this move? Rook f3. Attack from the bishop and from the rook. The bishop makes sure that the king cannot come to safety this way. And the rook here makes sure that we cannot go here. There's only one square, which is here. So white is up a queen. You can count the material. 3 light pieces, 2 rooks for both sides, and then there's also like an extra queen. So the only thing that black has, that black can say is compensation, is the position of the king. Is it enough? How to continue the game from here? Is it some sort of knight check? No, it's defended. Capturing here? No, it's defended. It's not going anywhere. It's not even a check, actually. It's bishop g7. Setting up a diabolical and very patient, actually, checkmate threat. If some nonsense move like a3, you could say that's attacking the knight. Maybe that's good. We just sacrifice the knight. We play b5 to take away this square from the king. And if you notice, the rook is taking away all these squares. Oh, it's okay, we capture the knight. And here is checkmate in one move. With knight c6, double check. It's check from the knight, but it's also check from the bishop, so you have no time to capture the knight. Also, b5 is taking away this escape square. The rook is taking away all of this, so it's checkmate. Which is why we did not see a move like a3, because b5 wins for black. And if the threat is b5, what do? We play not a3 but a4, which stops b5. Do you know your chess memes? Are you well versed in the chess memes? If you are, you will know that en passant is forced. And in this position, it very literally is. Nezhmetdinov plays pawn to c5, which would be checkmate if it were not for the en passant rule that allows pawn to take pawn on c6 en passant. It's the only legal move. It is absolutely forced. Polugaevsky and Nezhmetdinov playing with chess memes in 1958. What is the point? The point is pawn takes pawn. So you notice he's down a queen, and he's not giving check in every move. He's actually playing with some patience, because he is setting up the checkmate threats. And even with all these pieces at his disposal, it's very, very hard to find the correct defensive moves for Polugaevsky. Now the threat is pawn to c5, and now that is going to be checkmate. There's no en passant or anything you can do to stop that after it has materialized on the board. Knight takes care of this square. This knight takes care of this square. Rook takes care of these squares. This pawn takes care of this. So all of these are working together. But what about this rook? We're feeling a little bit, sad for this rook that it's not participating. Let's use all pieces. Polugaevsky plays bishop d3, cutting off the rook's view of c3, allowing the king to go to c3. So now this is not checkmate anymore. Still down a queen. Nezhmetdinov plays knight takes bishop. and that is check. That is a discovered check from this bishop here. And the bishop conveniently is also looking at c3, so the king cannot go to c3. Only one legal move, king goes to c4 instead. Are we losing as black? Are we winning? What's going on? How can we continue the attack? What would you play? A forcing move. Pawn to d5. Check. It is so forcing that there is only one legal reply, which is pawn takes pawn. And we see pawn takes pawn. Check again, but when this pawn moves, it is no longer defending b5. The knight is defending the pawn. Everything here is defended by, but b5 is now available for the king. And finally, we get to activate the last piece for black, the only one not participating in the attack. Rook b8. Check. So this knight is taking away this square. This knight is taking away this square. This pawn is taking away this square. The rook is looking at all these squares, and this knight is looking at this square, but it's not checkmate because this square is not defended. King comes here. Before we watch the end of the game, I'd just like to plug my Patreon, which is patreon.com/ASMRchess, and that is for you if you feel that you would like to support this channel and help me make more and better ASMR chess videos. And also, of course, there is like exclusive videos in there and ASMR chess Discord and stuff. So that's my little plug, trying to be a good little YouTuber. And are you ready now for the end of the game? How will this game end? Another forcing move. Knight c6. Check to the king. There is only one legal move. Polugaevsky did not play it, he resigned, but I will show you, because we can't rob ourselves from the beauty of what would have happened. This check, only one legal move. King a6, and can you find the beautiful finisher? Can you see it? The beautiful, beautiful finisher to this game. Knight c5. Checkmate. Now, is that a game of chess or what? Just look at that. Look at that. And I have analyzed it with the computer, and would you believe it, the queen sacrifice is completely sound. It's completely sound. Rook takes pawn, sacrificing the queen on h2 is a winning move. What? Chess is such a rich game, and we are so fortunate that we have players like Nezhmetdinov willing to sacrifice and risk to bring out the richness of chess. And I hope you will have a lot of fun in your own games. I hope you relaxed watching this video. I hope you had a great time. And I hope I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.